Right, I'm Simon Collins. I'm from WeDo. I'm the people that are around your neck. So if you look, the branding around your neck is WeDo. I'm just going to talk for a few minutes about mobile fraud or mobile-related fraud, just to really make you think a little. And if you're having discussions with telco operators or putting in mobile-related things, then something to think about. WeDo, by the way, is part of the Sonae group. I work for Presidium, which is the consulting arm of that. So we cover, we've worked in over 80 countries, over 14 years, and we've been primarily within the telco space, but we're now moving out into retail, utility, and into the finance areas. And we have a stand here at the exhibition where you can come and get some more information. I suppose really what I want to just make you aware of really is the fact that we're now moving a lot more into mobile-related transactions, mobile buying, mobile vouchers. And fraud in those areas exists in many forms. And we haven't got time to go through them all today, but I just really want to try and flag some of these to you. I think the other thing we're seeing is that people are cutting corners with regard to the stress points and understanding where fraud can occur. They make a lot of assumptions. And fraudsters have been very active in the telecom space. They've been active since the 1970s, and they've generally been extracting from the business 1% to 5% per year. And the problem we now have is that we're all starting to carry smartphones. Smartphones are very interesting devices and will give all of you a lot of headaches in the future. All right? They carry significant risk. All right? Why? Well, first of all, that they are multi-communication devices. They're focused on the different communication channels, LTE, 3G, 2G, WiMAX, Wi-Fi, and you don't actually know what they're doing. If you're having a transaction or a customer is buying goods or services from you, through that mobile device, do you really know where that transaction is occurring? Do you know what it is doing? And the criminals are now looking to exploit these terminal devices. And all I want to do is to make you think about what is happening in this space. Effectively, in the classic fraud scenario, you have your methods, your means, and your motives. Things like false identity, personalization, thefts, social engineering, technical collection of information. And what are they doing? The means, they're trying to do account takeover, looking at things like interception software put onto the device itself, exploitation of features in the purchase or payment processes, obtaining information such as from human traits, how you might use a keypad, how you might touch this pad, how you may even use the touch screen. You can look at the touch screen and see where people use different areas of the touch screen. So, many areas. In terms of motives, there's a whole list of them, all right? Things like manipulation of payments, manipulation of voucher and discount codes, looking at introduction of malware, trying to steal people's credit and credentials, anonymity. And one area that people are now starting to spend a bit more time on is actually using these mechanisms for money laundering. And then you get into the actual risk areas. So things like identity theft, keystroke logging, internal fraud, because the internal partner is actually setting how the things work. And then things like manipulation processes, things like SIM swap, phone swap. Do you actually know who the identity is of the end party? And all of these apply both to the, retail space and also to the mobile space. There's no difference, all right? You need to understand and learn that telco has been experiencing these problems for many years. And in many ways, we've had to suffer that. Now we're adding even more interesting complexity, putting NFC communications, putting payment applications onto terminal devices. So things like NFC, who do you blame? A lot of people are coming back to the communication service providers. When you actually make that transaction, do you know what you are touching when you touched it? Do you understand that in NFC you can have white by theft just by touching the card and removing details? Interestingly, the criminals, the technical people are making the signal distances a lot larger, We're seeing things like passport identities now being cloned, the validity of the touchpads. Do you actually understand what is there? So just things to bear in mind when you look at this. And software is available on the web to compromise RFID devices, which is the basis of NFC. What I would like to just ask you and to make you think about is to think about your products and services, to actually assess them, to actually understand what the risks are. Because a lot of people are offering services, and we get involved in this, where you don't understand what the risks are when you go there. You assume that the risk in the internet is the same as in mobile. That is not the case. All right? Things like electronic vouchers, voucher codes, can be differently handled in a mobile environment to they are in a PC or on internet type environment. And one important message is the message at the bottom here. Don't rely on the telco network device identities, the SIM card, the IMEI, which is the device number, the telephone number. All of these can be manipulated. So you have to build security to prevent fraud around these devices, all right? We're already seeing lots of problems. Probably people have seen recently the issue over Barclaycard Visa, all right, where their Visa card has been compromised and people can wipe by, take the details, and then go to Amazon because Amazon as an online retailer wasn't taking the CVV digits, could then go and buy a load of goods without ever utilizing the card itself. Things like device swap, where people have built services on the back of the devices. Android applications, where the logging of keystrokes is quite common and readily available as an application. If I can record your keystroke, I can take every one of your details when you log into your online transactions. Even things like digital currency in the, I was going to say the cyber world, in gaming and that sort of thing can be compromised. So just be aware. So all I'm going to say is think about your product risks, make sure you do the risk analysis. Think about the ability to prove the identity of a customer, to assess the systems and processes, and to think like a fraudster. A lot of people review services as if they are a customer. I would say think like a fraudster, not like a customer. That develop fraud monitoring techniques, and we as a company have a fraud monitoring system. We also have a control process system as well to look at the whole of the retail chain. Think about vouchers as money. Don't think of them just as a paper voucher, and consider those risks. And also when you're working with telco operators or consultancies or vendors, get them to convey to you the knowledge that they've learnt in the telco space. So just really summarizing my few couple of minutes is don't assume you know everything about the telco device. Don't assume the telco device is going to act like a PC, all right? You need to think that these are different devices. Also, telcos are not like banks. They've never had to deal with real money. It's all been virtual money. It's prepaid, or it's a bill at the end of a particular period. They're more a utility company. So when you build your propositions, bear that in mind. The technical risks that we're seeing now are ever increasing with each of the new technologies, and also the new terminal devices. We have monitoring control that's needed, so fraud control of mobile devices is much more important now than it was 5 years ago. Think about regulatory considerations. And finally, mobile risks are not just associated with fraud. They're also about security. They're about perception, about using the information for human engineering, all right? It may be that they use information here in a different space, such as an online space or in a storefront space. And then finally, when you're building your systems, you have to think about building that trust. All right? Do you trust the touchpad? Do you trust the person? Do you trust the identity? I'd like to thank you for that. And basically, if you're interested in any of these areas, please come and talk to us at the stand in the next exhibition. Thank you.